say somebody musters out of the Navy and moves to Pittsburgh to start a market, but that's exactly the unusual path Regina Ketter's followed to our region. Market's called Marty's, and it's in Pittsburgh's Strip District, a mix of groceries, a cafe, and a coffee shop on busy Smallman Street. Regina Ketters is the founder and owner of Marty's Market, and welcome. Good to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Intrigued by your story on a lot of different levels, but first off, if your name is Regina Ketters, why is it called Marty's Market?
I could give you the longer version of the story, but it's easier to just say I named it after my dad.
Named after your dad. Very cool. Native of Louisville, right? Louisville, yes. Kentucky. And what? Spent a lot of time in the Navy. I
did. Yeah. I left, went to the Naval Academy for college, and then after finishing my 4 years there, had the fortune of living in a few different states in the U.S. and a couple of deployments under my belt before I decided to transition to what we call the civilian sector. And I spent 2.5 years figuring out where I wanted to go to start this next life of mine, and Pittsburgh was the winner. Really?
Because obviously family in Louisville, close to Cincinnati, great city. So how did you find Pittsburgh?
It surprises people. Oftentimes when I tell Pittsburghers that I selected their city, they figure that climate wasn't a part of my criteria. So I'll just go along with it and say, once I took criteria of climate out, Pittsburgh was the winner. But I was really looking for a vibrant community of people who are civically engaged, who are great ambassadors for their city, a city with heritage and one that's celebrated instead of hidden. And certainly one that has the economic vitality of a city that's going somewhere. And it's my personal opinion that the Rust Belt is the next Sun Belt, and that people are going to be flocking to this portion of the country within the next decade. And I wanted to be here on the ground, being a part of our region's redevelopment, so I can enjoy what we create together at that point.
Very cool. We do have most of the fresh water in North America.
We kind of do.
Hands down, so you think that'll have to help at some point. Did you get to a short list? Were there other cities you looked seriously at?
There were others. So Seattle was on the list. I was looking at Denver as well. My real interest is in redevelopment and looking at the urban core and kind of rethinking what's next. And as I was researching, it became pretty clear to me that Pittsburgh offers something that really no other city can replicate, from a geographic proximity to our manufacturing base here in the country, proximity to also our financial centers, and this great immersion of different cultural norms. I call it like the Midwestern, hardworking, East Coast pace, Appalachian values. It's a great mix of things. But most of the competitor cities were not in the Rust Belt. I was looking at a lot of coastal cities out to the west and also to the east.
So so you wind up owning a market in the Strip. Were you running the commissary on board a ship or on a base or whatever?
I have absolutely no experience in food other than I've been eating it.
Okay.
I really enjoy, actually for the travel that I have, most of it was work-based because I tend not to vacation, but I've had a chance to go to a lot of different places in the world, especially with the Navy. And I tend to not bring anything home. I just talk about the food that I had while I was there.
Right. So a great love of food, if nothing else.
Absolutely.
So how did it happen that you wound up with this venture?
I sort of had I would call a real estate developer's hat on when I was looking at the location at 23rd and Smallman. Really a devastation to the community with the loss of the predecessor tenant. And so I was looking at the building both as if I owned it, what do I think would be a good fit there, and as the Strip District area gentrifies, what would play a good role in catalyzing private investment within that community. And I decided that keeping food retail at that intersection was a really good plan, but to switch it up a little bit to improve the pedestrian friendliness of the corner. So that's why I introduced an outdoor cafe setting and the coffee bar that you can belly right up to from the street.
Yeah, you can sit on either side, either indoors or outdoors, and then there's a whole set of garage doors along one side of the building. You turn it into a sidewalk cafe kind of, right?
Exactly. The idea being is to break down barriers between inside and outside, but then as we talk about the food portion, it's this idea that can we take this distance between food producers and consumers and shorten it. introducing transparency in that food chain, that food supply. So I wanted the physical space to sort of tell you we're not into barriers here. We're into asking questions and learning more about where our food came from and doing what we can by having really great experiences in this community setting to stimulate demand for locally grown product.
Which is cool. Puts you right in the middle of the whole local food movement here on our region. We've just been featuring that recently in the last few weeks here on the program.
Yeah, so, and where better to do that than in a strip district, already sort of this destination point for people wanting to get great foodstuffs, and then the heritage of the neighborhood itself, really supporting this idea of regional distribution of product, this synthesis and intersection between agriculture and industry. I love it.
Really cool. So, only a few seconds left, but I'm wondering, how's this adventure going so far? It's a learning experience.
It's a learning experience to be sure. Going really well, and that's really the consequence of tremendous community support. Our customers love us. Fortunately, we get more and more every day, but our growers are excited about what we're doing. So there's just this great sense of positivity, and I think anything is possible as long as we keep seeing more opportunities that unfold because of us being together. So it's going well, definitely.
Well, very cool. Great to have you here in our region, Regina Cutters. It's Marty's Market in Pittsburgh Strip District. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And next up, feeding and clothing the hungry through the holiday season. Stay with us.